Hey, it's Colin, Justin, all this blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm not doing the whole long thing. So, so I like horror, and I know I said that in a previous video. I really dig it. Horror and thriller, suspense. You get a really nice mix of drama, action, and occasionally some good comedy in there. However, since I've been going through Netflix and watching their catalog of horror, suspense, thrillers, things like that, I came across Double X. I guess it's supposed to be Kiss Kiss or XX Chromosome, because its description is a four-part anthology of short horror films that include some traditional themes but are shown from a female point of view. The problem is, none of these are really a female point of view. There's nothing different about them. The horror is still the horror. So the first one was called The Box. And it's basically a little child right before Christmas asks a random guy on a train what's in the box. The guy shows him the box. Kid says, and that's the end of it. But all of a sudden, he stops eating. Parents get a little concerned a week later and take him to the hospital. Doctor says, well, he's losing weight, and you know, what happens when you stop eating? Although, he still's drinking, because if not, he would have been dead 2 days earlier. But, you know, semantics. Moot point. Horror movie, right? Horror movie. So, the problem is, he starts sharing whatever he saw in that, and they all have the same basic reaction. He says there was nothing in the box. Now, are we talking like just nothing in general, or are we talking more of a metaphysical nothing, like the nothing from Neverending Story? It's a good question, and it's an interesting one. But it's not necessarily a female perspective. It's the same. The horror, I guess, is supposed to be from... You don't know? It's not frightening. It's not scary. It's barely suspense, because once he stops eating, you know he's just going to die, and then the rest of the family dies, and she's not eating now, so everyone's dying, and they all die slow, painful deaths. Woo. I do have a good compliment. The makeup they used, or the prosthetics that they used for the children and the adults having not eaten for like weeks looks really nice. I almost thought that kid with this sunken in face, and it looked great. It was probably just a mannequin, but it looked great. The next story, and I actually have written down notes. I'm not unprepared this time. Was called The Birthday Party. And my first note on it, because the basic story is a parent said that they couldn't make it to their child's birthday party or something like that. Both parents are white and the child's black, so we presume that she's adopted. The mother calls her little panda. I don't know. That's all types of weird shit that I want to dive into. But my question was, is this just a hidden body thing? There's nothing really scary about it. You see her moving the body around just barely out of sight of everyone. You have all the traditional things part of it. And yes, we're looking at traditional themes from a female's perspective. The problem is there's nothing original here. The perspective, even though it's changed and from a female perspective, is the same movie as if it was the other way around. And it wasn't good. At the very end, the dead body falls over into the cake, and everyone's scared, and the little kid has to go to therapy now, and it's the reason she's afraid of intimacy. Is that the female perspective on it? Maybe I'm just a white guy, but I don't see a difference between a guy trudging around a woman's body and trying to hide it from their child, because you have the same exact scenario. There's nothing different. So it wasn't that scary, it wasn't that entertaining. I'm waiting for it to be over for the next story to start. Number 3. It was called Don't Fall, and I actually kind of liked this one. I maintain it's no different than anything else, but you know, whatever. But essentially, there's nothing original in it. It's just a person becomes possessed by a monster spirit. The monster spirit kills everybody. Oh my. Just the monster's now a female and grotesque. Ooh. Again, it's it's nothing original. I other than it following the monster being a woman, how is this a female perspective on the same thing? It's not. It's a horror perspective. How do you react in that situation? The female lead, one of the two female characters, the one that doesn't get possessed, is the last one to die. She falls, she breaks her leg, and she's trying to be quiet, and she's looking up, and oh no, it's my friend who's possessed, or whatever. Oh, I'm scared. And the last one was, I forget the name of it. It's like My Only Living Son or Only Living Child or something like that. And something interesting that came up, and I want to give them props for it. There's a conflict between the valedictorian, who was a black girl, and the boy, who's a white boy. And they do not immediately do what most movies do in this situation and try to make it about skin color. I don't like the word race. They don't make it about skin color. It's, you girl have been good to me, but your son needs help. And if you can't see your son needs help, then you have a problem. That was it. I kind of liked it. It was an honest, realistic understanding between two parents and a conflict that their children have. Props. Big time. However, it takes everything that makes Rosemary's Baby unique and just fucking kills it. So, this jumps, instead of you seeing how the child is made into the Antichrist as a baby, you presume he is because he's doing horrific acts, like ripping off the fingernails of the valedictorian. Yeah. He pins a squirrel to a tree. He comes home bloody one night, and his mother spends the time cleaning up the bloody mess throughout the house. You don't know what he's killed or if he's killed anything. There's just blood everywhere in the sink. And the problem was the ending. Oh, dear Lord. This was... If it was meant to be a comedy, congratulations. It was amusing. It ends, and I shit you not, with a double bear hug killer. They bear hug each other to death, the mother and the son. Not even joking. That last, it's like the 73, 74 minute mark of the movie. Right there. Watch it. It's hilarious. I love you, son. I love you, Mom. Hilarious. And you're trying to muster this real connection, this real emotional moment, when they're supposed to be in the darkness of the wings of Satan. Woo, scary. Now, my problem with the anthology is, I would have laughed at all the anthology, the entirety of the anthology either way. It was just silly. You had some places where the makeup was really nice, like in Don't Fall, the monster makeup was really good. The prosthetics, excellent. You actually have this look like she's actually possessed by something that's not human, or not some type of regular spirit that you would normally encounter. It's not the Satan spirit, it's something else. And it feels really strong. That the rest of the story sucks, but that makeup is beautiful. But nothing in any of the stories here are different than a male perspective. And that's the problem. Is this is being touted like it's a masterwork and female entertainment that look at us, we can do anything a guy can do just as good. And you did it. Like so many other shitty writer-directors out there. You have the same problems. None of it's scary. we don't have the suspense we're looking for when we're building up to a moment. Like with the Antichrist story, you don't have this moment of, is he or isn't he? The first time you hear about him doing something weird, and everyone around's like, everyone except for the parent of the other child, is like, oh no, your child's special. I want to see my dad. I've never met my dad. He's supposed to be a Hollywood actor, right? Yes, that's your dad. He doesn't want to be around you. Sorry. Everything's predictable. The horror story Don't Fall. It's predictable. She gets possessed, she kills everyone. No one lives. Birthday party. The body's going to be found. It's going to be found in the most public and spectacular way possible. The box. She's going to starve herself to death, or eat herself to death, which was my first thoughts on the matter, as she tries to figure out what was in that damned box. The only thing that even slightly caught me off guard is the double bear hug of death. It's like the ending of Devil. You just don't see it coming because there's nothing to indicate that she's as strong as a demon. Well, I won't even call him a demon possessed. As the Antichrist. She apparently is strong enough to bear hug the son of Satan to death at 18, and that kid is looking fit. She does not. I just don't see it going that way. He literally makes her kneel and crawl over to her, and then Sonny's like, I'm gonna kill myself with you. It's stupid. And then suddenly the world's all bright again, and the wings of Satan isn't going over everything, and there's the happy birthday cake for your 18th birthday. I don't mind a female perspective in horror. If you take a look at I Spit on Your Grave, that movie is a very female perspective driven movie. Everything about it is female driven. The woman throughout the movie, she loses her dignity and her respect for herself. She communes with God after she's gang raped over and over again, which I think it was like 4 or 5 times in the movie, but I don't remember off the top of my noggin. And she communes with God, and God either doesn't answer or gives his blessing through omittance of speaking with her directly. And she gets revenge on all 4 of the bastards who does it to her. That's female empowerment. But just saying the writer-directors are female, therefore it's a female point of view, the stories are exactly the same. There is nothing unique about these stories that drives it from a different perspective unless you're viewing it only from an emotional point. No, not even just an emotional point of view. Unless you watch these movies like 4 or 5 times in a row, these shorts, and you're trying to dissect every line of dialogue, every little thing, which, I mean, there's not much of it. But when you're going through and you're watching it, you don't see anything different than what's everywhere else. It's the same cliche conversations. It's the same It's the same everything. There's nothing unique. The perspective, if it's only because the writer, because I think all but one of the stories were written and directed by women, is the same as when it's done by a male. So there is no female perspective unless we're supposed to watch every frame and go, in this frame, you can see she really wants to make her son happy, so she's going to do what he says. That doesn't necessarily mean he's exerting a demonic will, but it does mean she's willing to cooperate in order to keep her son close. But you don't get that. It's he's exerting his will, she's obeying, and when he can no longer make eye contact with her, they double bear hug each other to death. I'm going to keep rubbing that one in because that was stupid. So, I mean, if you want to make it about a female perspective, you need to take a different route with it. You can't do traditional horror and go, well, this is a female perspective. Because it's just a horror perspective. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. And that goes for any type of movie. And I know I've been advised I must watch Ghostbusters 2016 to be able to make an accurate portrayal upon it. But things like that. Comedy lends itself to being more gendered. Because there are certain things women are going to find funnier than men and vice versa. And we're talking averages here, we're not talking specifics. I don't like vagina jokes. I'll laugh at them. Some of them are really funny. But a good fart joke, I'm going to laugh at it. I'll buy into that stereotype. I'll laugh at a fart joke. A good one especially. Doug Walker did a really good one on his review when he was doing The Master of Disguise. But that's the problem, is horror doesn't have that issue. Because most of the time, it's the women who end up living. It's the women who end up being the powerful ones, not the weak ones. You have a lot of horror where they're saved at the last minute by a guy, but in general, the people who are the ones winning are women. And they normally have these traumatic stories that they end up being told about them, and in the end, you have a situation where they're stronger for it. Now, I'm not saying that horror's treated women good throughout the years, because there's some really bad movies, and if you want to get analytic on it, there's a lot of analysis that can be done. But the problem is, when you try to make this about a female point of view, and it's just a standard point of view for horror, you're not doing anything original. Sorry. Now, that being said, I'm not saying they're bad, they're meh. They don't have a strong beginning, middle, and end. Like The Birthday Party, it's bog standard. There is nothing unique or special about that. The Box. The Box had an interesting premise, but it doesn't deliver on the results. Because you just don't know. And that's a nice psychological point of view of, well, what really happened? We don't know. We don't know if there was an actual magical effect. We don't know if it's just something he saw that made him not want to eat. And passing along the secret makes everyone else not want to eat. You have something, but it's nothing original. MacGuffin causes family to get ill. Family dies from illness. You have one survivor who's trying to find the person who caused it. Thinner was a really good example of something where there was a punishment that you didn't know how to fight against, short of going to the person who did it. Thinner's a different category, but it's that whole setup. But yeah, none of this is unique, and my notes while I was writing it's like, okay, show me this female perspective. We're following a female character, but that doesn't mean female perspective. This is a horror perspective. That's it. If I were to rank it 1.5 stars out of 5, because there's nothing unique, everything is predictable. The only thing that's not predictable is the double bear hug of death, and that's the reason it gets the extra half star. I've never seen... If I've seen it before, maybe, but I don't remember being anywhere else where you have a double bear hug of death. Just saying. Well, signing off, or... I end the last video. I don't know. I don't care. Goodbye.